What about a little bit of feedback on that exercise? Did that at all feel uncomfortable to you?
A little bit at the start, because you're very conscious of the fact that you're staring right at somebody. The
Right.
5 seconds feels more like a minute,
Doesn't it though?
but it's not.
But it's not. And from my perspective, it looked completely appropriate. It didn't appear that you were glaring at someone for an extended period of time. It appeared very much so that you were being polite and attentive to the person. So now that you've practiced it, and you can see why we practice that in class first, so you don't have to do that in your next engagement with somebody at the supermarket or your favorite bar. All right.
Good to see you.
Great. Well, we're merely making progress now. I can see your confidence being built already. By the way, did you know that your confidence can be enhanced by simply a pause? Just a pause in what you're saying. To pause and breathe helps us to mitigate or to lessen the incidence of filler words. Words like or repetition of a particular word, or linking things together by and or so from one thought to the next while you're trying to think of what you're about to say. Just stop. Stop, give yourself a break, take a deep breath, and then continue. It will control your ums, ers, ahs, other filler words, and it gives you an opportunity to collect your thoughts, and is not what so many speakers fear, dead air. It's not dead air. People don't mind you're taking a break. They don't mind, as wonderful as your speaking voice might be, if you stop for a moment. Think about it. You're the one in the front of the room making your presentation. You've got a script. You know your stuff. You know where you're going, and you know how much time you have. But the people who are listening to you have none of that. This might very well be brand new experience to them. They need time to process it. What's he saying? What does he mean by it? What does he expect me to do, and how am I going to do it? And oh, by the way, how does that relate to stuff that I've done in the past? Well, all of that takes time. And if you keep rambling on point to point to point without giving a pause, it's very difficult for people to catch up. Right? So do not fear the pause. A word or two on voice. Someone said earlier that that was what they hoped to get out of this session. How long and how loudly should I speak when I'm in front of a group of people? The quick answer to that with respect to voice is loud enough to be heard in the four corners of the room. Your volume should also be used for points of emphasis, instead of keeping one level, perhaps mundane, level of volume. When you want to make a particular point, when you want to ensure attentiveness, especially if you're in a session after lunch, right? for a prolonged period of time. Heavy lunch and warm conference rooms do not an attentive group sometimes make. The other thing I wanted to say about your voice is vocal variety. The tone and the tempo. The tone and tempo need to be appropriate to your message. They may be delivering a sense of urgency. There might be a call to action, and you may be speaking a bit faster at that time. All of those elements sort of put the icing on the cake, as it were, for the use of your voice. Any questions, inputs, or thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I've worked with children in second grade for years, and you really had to, understand that people take information in differently. It just blew my mind when a child would say one thing and another child would completely not connect. So, plus, one of the children asked me, if I was mad one day, and I was like, no, I'm not mad, and it was all in my voice,
Mhm.
that made that child anxious.
Right, right. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good idea to kind of test that in friendly situations like workshops or at home. To ask a loved one, a partner, roommate, how do I come across when I say things like this? To get their unbiased opinion. Thank you again for bringing it up. Well, at this point in the workshop, we're racing towards a summary. So, what I'd like you to do is to take just a moment and assess and decide for yourself. I'm going to give my vocal portion of the message a few seconds break while you take a look here to see from the skill sets that are listed on the board which you're going to prioritize. As you evaluate, as you do a self-examination of your skills as a communicator, which of these might be most important for you to practice? What particular techniques within them might be a good first step to practice? So if you would please, just maybe on your worksheet, circle the one and jot next to it something in particular that you'd like to do or that you'd be willing to do once you leave our workshop today. Go ahead and take a moment to do that. Wow, that didn't take long. I saw pens down nearly right away. You must have anticipated it. Well, now that you've done that, I'm going to suggest that when you get back to your workplace or at home, that you tear off that page and post it to your office wall or a calendar or a refrigerator and commit to working on one technique a day. Just one, until you've got them all mastered. Okay?
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Okay. Let's summarize, shall we? As I said, I think before, I've noticed that you've been taking a number of detailed, copious notes during this module. So as a summary for your work here today, I'd like each of you, if you would, in rotation, to summarize the points of our agenda by sharing just one tip, one technique, one takeaway that you have from today's session. In other words, if I say posture, Nate, you might say, what's one thing that would be a takeaway for you?
Keeping your feet shoulder width apart and your shoulders back. Chin up.
Excellent. Chin up.
There you go.
Wonderful. Meg, how about movement? Physical movement.
To, depending upon the size of the audience, but to make sure you're connecting not from a, what do you call it? A board.
A podium.
Podium,
Yeah.
thank you. But you engage people more, they participate better because you are in their space now.
Okay, so for focus and for engagement, you may have a planned or deliberate movement. Great. Gestures. Nate.
Gestures, the big takeaway for me was matching your gesture that you're making with whatever it is that you're saying or explaining to the group that you're talking with.
Excellent. Excellent. Matching it up, adding to that credibility. Facial expression, Meg?
That's a hard one for me because I'm very facial expressive. So make sure the expression on my face matches what's being said.
Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah.
like when you were talking about dealing with that student who wondered if perhaps you were angry. Maybe part of that message might have been you had a passive expression on your face. So it takes a conscious, mindful effort sometimes to say, let me make sure that I match my expression to what it is that I'm trying to say. What about the use of pauses, Nate?
So that was something that I did not know initially, is how much